Hello and welcome back to Pyramid Motorcycle Accessories. Today we're going to be taking an exclusive behind the scenes look at the entire process of bringing a product to life. We'll be walking through the entire development process from scanning the bike all the way up to a finished released product. The product in question is the Flyscreen for this Gen 4 MT-09. We're going to hear a little bit from the head designer himself who took lead on this project, so kick back, relax and watch how we bring a product from idea to reality. Anticipating the bike's popularity, we invested in our own bike for development purposes. Owning the bike that we're working on is an obvious advantage, streamlining the design and development process compared to borrowing a bike, which we often have to do. To kick off this project, our designer Sam created a 3D scan of the MT-09, allowing him to start designing the product in CAD. Let's hear from him.
Cheers. To start off the project, we need to get as much data of the bike and the surrounding area as possible. Now, traditionally, this would have been done through clay molding or jigs and even old-fashioned measurements, which are still useful now. But with the rapid demand of the marketplace, we've had to progress into the 21st century and we use 3D scanning. 3D scanning is a good modern way to capture all the data possible that we need in the area to relate to the product, all down to 40 microns, which is a very small measurement. So it gives us a lot of accurate data, so less chance of error, speeds up the process and allows us to get that product out quicker. Once we've got that initial scan data, it's time to move to the initial concepts. We would have looked at the product from an overview, so we would have thought about how we want it to look like on the bike, the overall size, the overall fixing. However, the primary aspect of this particular project is the aesthetics.
Now with the scan complete, Sam can begin crafting some initial concepts through sketches and CAD. As this accessory is primarily aesthetic, exploring different various shapes and sizes is essential, all while considering the bike's design in mind as well. Now it's at this stage that it's very important to gain some feedback on the initial concept progress. This will start internally from the other designers that we have here at Pyramid. They will give their thoughts and opinions on the ideas and the concepts that have been visualized so far through Sam's sketches and through his work on CAD. Now, back to the nerd.
It's very important to gain some feedback before we progress, mainly internally, as it was too early to sort of show our initial designs. But this allows us to reflect and refine and move the project forward. So we then developed these concepts further and then shared them with our community to see what they thought. And this is why feedback is so important at this stage and at all stages, so that we can constantly move back if we require.
Sam chose a total of 4 concepts to show to the community. We visualised these 4 concepts and posted them onto the MT-09 owners groups on Facebook and our other socials, explaining our plans and encouraged owners to vote for their favourite. Option A came out as the clear winner. However, with people also liking option B and D, we decided to prototype 3 of the 4 initial choices. I'll let Sam explain that.
With the world becoming more digital every day, it's important that physical prototyping is not underestimated. We still very much like to physically prototype concepts, as this allows us to see the part in person and how it actually looks like with the bike. We rapid prototype through 3D printing. This allows us an easy way to bring our parts to life into physical pieces. And it's also one of the most accurate ways of being able to do it and replicate what we have designed in CAD.
We decided to bring 3 of the 4 initial concepts to life. A, B and D got the pass, while C barely getting any votes. We scrapped that one. That wasn't the route we were going to go down. So A, B and D, we got some 3D printed prototypes. So it was at this point that we offered them all up, took a load of photos, created even more info sheets, and went round again getting internal feedback and community feedback on the physical prototypes that we created of the 3 chosen designs. And yet again, one of the 3 prototypes came out on top, and it was yet again A.
So after the feedback, we then will have chosen a concept to further develop, but it would be the final sort of shape and form that we'll be working with. We now needed to look at the secondary aspect, which was the functional side of it. Now, we will have looked at that to start with at the initial point of the project, because we would have thought how we wanted the fly screen to attach. We ultimately, in this case, wanted a no bolt showing through the screen. So that was the end goal. In this case, we were able to find a solution that gave the part stability and security when attached to the bike, as well as the overall aesthetic appeal that is the #1 priority. Specific materials and manufacturing methods will have been considered from the start, as this can often influence a design. As you may know, most of our plastics are made from ABS, manufactured through a method called vacuum forming. Vacuum forming is a process that involves heating up of a sheet of plastic, and this is then pulled down over the top of a mould to create the intended shape. We know the limitations of vacuum forming, such are draft angles. You need to adhere to that so that you can actually pull the part off of the tool once it is finished. If you don't adhere to these, then it's impossible to create the part. We often use sheet metal. This is a very versatile process, and a wide range of materials and grades of metal can be used. In this case, aluminium was the chosen metal. Steel was possibly an option, but with it being a higher density, we decided against that, as it would create too much weight at the top of the bike. We specifically chose a 5 series aluminium, as this offers great strength, formability, durability, and corrosion resistance. However, we do also powder coat the majority of our brackets anyway, just from an aesthetic point, but gives that added extra protection. As aluminium's plate strength is significantly less than steel, it was important to know the mechanical composition of the brackets. So this is why you will see 2 brackets interlocking with one another to create an overall very strong setup to support the fly screen.
Now, just as we like to prototype the screen, we also like to get a sample of the bracket system we plan to use as well. And what this gives us is the first full finished prototype with all the bracketry, all the fixings. It was decided that the fly screen would contain another plastic panel on the rear side, which can house some well nuts inside the 3 fixing points. This means that the first bracket can be offered up to the fly screen and screwed into place like so. Along with that, we have a secondary bracket, as Sam explained, which attaches to these 2 bolts here. And then using these 2 little notches on the first bracket, it sits very nicely in the 2 little holes there. And that is the mounting solution that we went for.
Before we take the part into production, for a lot of projects, it's always good practice to have a production prototype, just to see how the part looks and feels and works in its final form.
Sam and the design team take a close look, get some finished feedback, and decide whether or not they want to kick this into production and whether the sample is good enough.
Once we're happy with the overall fitment and the overall look of the final screen, we then push this into production, ready to make and ready to stock and ready to ship.
At this stage, the instruction sheet can be created, providing detailed guidance on how to install the part and listing all the included bolts, washers and other components. With our extensive selection of bolts and components, we ensure that each fixing provided is best fit for the product. We always release the simple matte black version of the product before we look into the painted options. The painters we use are Dream Machine. They're based in the UK and we've been working with them for decades now. They're motorcycle paintwork specialists and do a fantastic job at colour matching. In this case, for the fly screen, there are 4 colours available for the MT-09 to be purchased in: SP, Midnight Cyan, Tech Black and Yamaha Blue. Of course, we always want to offer these in all colours. One of our other designers, Liam, starts work on this by creating a suitable paint scheme for the bike. This can sometimes take a back and forth, and I think in this case, we actually got the community to vote and take a look at different SP designs that we couldn't decide from. Once the products arrive, they go through our production department where they have their fitting kits assembled, the screens themselves quality checked, then they are carefully packed, put into our warehouse where they can be shipped to the customers.
We have UK manufacturers for all of our plastic and metal parts, as we believe it's very important to support the local businesses within the domestic economy. This means we have full control over our parts and traceability over the materials, as well as ensuring that all parts are made to the industry manufacturing standards. This is something that is absent when you're buying through medias such as AliExpress.
Everything you've seen is part of the hard work we put into creating original products, but there's one problem that we're always fighting against.
China!
That's right, counterfeit copies. Designing new parts demands significant investment in both finances and time. Unfortunately, intellectual property often goes unprotected, particularly outside of the Western world. We frequently battle against counterfeit pyramid products, especially from Asia and platforms like AliExpress, sold at drastically reduced prices. For instance, our MT-09 Flyscreen design has already been plagiarized, with the counterfeit even removing our subtle logo that we placed in the bracket. However, due to poor reverse engineering, the imitation part from AliExpress does not fit correctly. The interlocking brackets fail to align flush with each other, compromising the structure and allowing the screen to flex while riding. The material feels cheap and the manufacturing flaws impact both durability and functionality. Our original product is superior in every way. While some may prioritise cost savings, this mindset threatens future innovation by reducing our ability to invest in new designs. If this trend continues, there'll eventually be fewer original products available. Just as you wouldn't purchase a fake iPhone, the same principle should apply here. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do drop a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content similar to this in the future. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
China.